So I was on her Twitter space, and then this account called Radfem Hitler, which I guess you're a fan of.
Yeah.
We were having the discussion. Remember the dinner date one? Like, do guys take girls on coffee dates or dinner
Yeah.
dates?
Yeah.
And she said anybody who doesn't want to take her on a dinner date must be an asshole. And then my thought on that was, well, we've already established you don't like me. So why would you want me to waste 2 hours of your time having to sit there with me eating a stromboli? She wasn't hearing any of it. But that was the argument I tried to make, and it's just how it played out. But then it was like for the next hour, it was any chance she can get to snipe on me in the background. And that's hey guys, welcome to Red Morning. And so to finish that, that's why I thought, hey, just have a normal person here, a normal conversation about dating, and not be assholes. Fair enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess a lot of people have no idea. Like some of these guys don't follow on Twitter and that, so they have no idea who you are. Do you want to give them a little bit of an introduction on who you are?
Um, Hi. My name's Gwen. And I'm a writer. I write on Twitter. I wrote an article called My Fling with a Proud Boy, and I wrote some threads that people liked that activated the threads and the incels. I like incels. Incels are really cool. They have like there's like an incel art form, and they have
Really?
music. It's called incel core.
What the hell?
Yeah,
I've actually
it's
never
the
heard of
coolest
this.
thing ever. They're like modern day rebels.
That's probably the kindest interpretation I've heard of like incel black pill guys in my
Yes.
entire life.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Oh boy. All right. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna do a quick segue. Hey guys in the audience, there was a couple ideas on this one. I was doing a thing out at Collabs. Gwen reached out. I actually remember your article in the Proud Boys. Proud Boys. I remember you got a lot of hate for that, but if you don't know, there's these guys called Fresh and Fit, and the audience knows exactly who they are. They're in Miami. They get drunk at the bar. They pick up a bunch of chicks that have OnlyFans accounts. They bring them onto the podcast. They tell them to stop whoring it up and make babies, and then they kick them off the show when the girls get drunk and belligerent. It's a hoot. I'm not a fan of that stuff, but and then there was that, and then there was the Twitter. The heck's that thing called again? What do they call them again? The Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Twitter space. And then there was girls and boys talking about sex and dating and relationships there, and it was like the most awkward time I've ever had in my life. So I thought we had a lot of fun when is it Danny or Sophie? I don't know what to call her.
She goes by Danny on there.
Okay. Had Danny on here where we talked about, sex and dating and relationships and Batman origin stories and that. She thought it was cool. So I'm like, why don't we do that again? Instead of me just complaining that Fresh and Fit are picking up. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. When you were saying before that sounds like fun. So the latest drama with it is, I guess, either Fresh or Fit, I don't know which one of them, was in the DMs of the Instagram girls they were trying to bring on the show, basically saying if you want to come on our big YouTube show, you have to sleep with us first, and getting right belligerent. And then the girl released the screenshots. Yeah.
Whoa.
So I don't know how many girls slept with them. Maybe it was the first time they tried it and it backfired. I don't know. I am actually amazed that a guy talking about how red pill he is decides to go full on what's the Epstein or Weinstein guy, go full Weinstein with a casting couch, but whatever. So we don't want to do any of that here. I hope you're okay with that.
That kind of thing makes me nervous though, like the screenshotting DMs. Like what if I was trying to talk to someone and then he I don't know. The only person who ever did that to me was a Vice reporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, you're getting manosphere level hate just because you dated one proud boy once, huh?
Yeah, like that one article, like I sent her a pitch about I've dated other right-wing stereotypes.
Yeah.
And she was so mad that she just posted it to make fun of it, and all these people liked it. Like, look at this bitch. And it was like you write for Vice. Like, this is not professional behavior.
I know. I can't believe the same magazine that had an article saying the guy was taking crocodile in a or the guy who took HIV drugs to get high in a South African bathroom somehow doesn't have journalistic integrity.
Wait, what?
Oh, you didn't know? That was like I used to love Vice back when it was just guys going to random countries doing the drugs that were there.
Yeah.
And I guess in some parts of Africa, they're doing HIV drugs and they're smoking them to get high. So this guy's like, I want to see what all the hullabaloo's about. So he went to some cheap, I don't know which country it is. I want to say the Congo for how shitty it was, but it could have been anything. And he's in there and he's like, these are the HIV drugs that are saving people from AIDS. I'm going to snort them up and see what happens.
Oh
And
my
then he just sat
God.
there like staring at the camera doing time lapses and how fucked up he got. It was like, I'm like, this is what millennials want to see for news. None of this like Trump is bad shit.
I feel like ever since Trump is not in office, people don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It was like 75% down or something
Yeah.
stupid like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I mean, that's the one good thing. He always did want to kill the news, and it turns out by leaving, he did that. Okay, actually, here I gotta change topics here. So there's this guy or girl, I don't know, NLibs. I'm actually curious about this one myself, and it's one question, and I hope you don't mind. You don't have to answer this one if you don't want to, but I just have to know. The Proud Boy you dated, was he a Fed?
No, he's
Ah, then
just
he's not a real Proud Boy.
yeah.
Just some guy.
No, I think he was like a rich kid, like an explorer. I think he was exploring ideas. He's a
Really?
nice guy. Yeah, he wasn't hateful. He wasn't like, I mean, look, if he had like 1488 tattoos, I wouldn't have brought him to my house.
That
You
would make
know?
sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that was the thing I was wondering. I don't know. It's just like you see all the news, and you obviously, and then part of this thing is I know we're supposed to be talking about dating and relationships and shit like that, and we'll get there. But I'm just fascinated with this Proud Boy thing. But I guess you wrote the article on it, so let's get that out there.
Yeah.
Is it? It's published. Where's it published again? I remember reading it, but it was a while back, so I can't remember.
The American Conservative.
That's the one. Which is funny because, like, judging by the pillows in your bedroom, you don't strike me as a conservative.
Um, I mean, I could go into that, I guess, but like
It's politics. Fuck it.
yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I want to put a link into that at some point too. I figure the least we can do, cool. You're going to give me an hour of your time. The least I can do is get some traction as best I can for your article. Here we go. I want to put a link to it in the chat. Seriously, guys, give it a read after this one. It'll be kind of neat. It's actually some pretty good writing, and that's another reason I was interested in this because I don't know. I've only just started becoming an author.
Really?
And I find the author space is fascinating. You've been writing for a while though. Like when did you start?
I started writing, I mean, my whole life, but like I think my first online article was published 2013. I wrote like mainstream stuff. I wrote like autism stuff. I used to write regularly for a thought catalog. Do you remember them?
I do vaguely. They were like trying to be what Quillette was trying to be, wasn't it? Where it's like you go here for reasonable stuff and not the crazy stuff that the mainstream does.
Oh, it was like a youth oriented like, but they would publish anything. That was their MO was like conservative, liberal, like any idea they would publish it.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't read that one more. Although to be fair, at the time, I think if it was like 2010, I would have just gotten out of like my pickup phase, so I probably wasn't reading mostly new stuff at that point.
Were you one of the originals?
Well, not. I was one of the original guys doing it. Like, all right. So you remember, Mystery and the Top Hat and all that shit, right? I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in right before he did his VH1 thing because I used to be in the Navy.
Cool.
Yeah, we had to sail like 180 days a year. So I would get home, I'd go on a date with a girl, take her out to dinner, and say, hey, this is fun. Can I talk to you again in 3 months when I'm back in the country? Needless to say, date was over, right? So I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how to speed up this process, or I'm just going to be sitting here playing with myself in my living room, and I don't want that. And so then I somehow found a Neil Strauss DVD, and they went through like the mystery method and all that stuff, and I'm like, this stuff is like how you just said like the incel culture was like nerdcore and it was like pretty interesting. I liked the aesthetic. I thought, oh man, this is cool. It's like instead of just dating where you're trying to interview a girl and see if you guys are right for each other, it's like a game.
Yeah.
And then it became fun. So I that's when you said about the incel thing. I kind of get it, even though I can't stand them. Mostly because I hate quitters.
Oh yeah. This incel was like, the black pill, you can't sell it.
Yeah.
Like he can't make money off it because, so he thought it was more pure, that he was like an agent of honor.
Oh.
Telling the truth. And that you guys were a bunch of hustlers.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what we said. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll give you an article, my podcast with a red pill guy. So we had this same issue. There's this guy, I don't know if you know any of the names. Let me know if you don't know who I'm talking about, and I'll fill you in as best I can. There's this guy called Illimitable Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of a bigger guy. He was around back in the older days, like the 2000s, 2010s, when I was like on Reddit, just starting with the red pill stuff. And then we had this big issue that people were starting to come out talking red pill stuff online. They were mostly just stealing Rational Mail articles and reading them out of their Honda Civics, right? But he's like, this is gonna suck because these guys are taking this thing and they're trying to make money off it. They're being hucksters. We need to keep it pure. Same as you said, we're keeping it pure, right? And then I think Rolo and I both had the thought that, well, somebody's going to be doing it anyway. And he's like, I don't want people to steal my work. I could just put my own work out there. And I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And so that was just it. We were literally like, well, maybe we can beat out bad information with good information. And I mean, right now the most popular thing is drunk dudes yelling at chicks online. So I mean, we
Really?
obviously failed. Well, the fresh and fit thing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yelling at drunk chicks
Yeah.
online didn't work out too well. Yeah, is
Oh.
what it is. But that is kind of interesting, though. I know a lot of those guys hate us. I don't. Troy loves it. He kind of feeds off the drama, but I don't really am not a fan of it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where to take this conversation because I. Oh, look at this! Thank you, Johnny. Ryan is a writer. He did a poem on his other channel. Oh, he's making fun of it because like this space is a little bit toxic sometimes. So I made a Minecraft channel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I made a video called "The Hole of Glory," and he's making a pitch for it, which is nice. So I guess
Wait, the what?
the Hole of Glory. The what?
Okay.
It's just since it's like a goofy game with blocks, I thought it'd be funny to talk about glory holes, but instead of like saying glory hole and being vulgar, I would just infer it by the hole of glory. And then
That's
make
very
references.
subtle. Nobody would guess what that means.
Yeah, nobody. So some 6-year-old's watching this. He's like, dude, that hole is full of glory. And the dad's like, honey. That's the plan anyway. I guess back onto it. You find talking about dating a bit and all that stuff now?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So this is the stuff that kind of gets me.
Okay.
I had a video like a year ago talking about how women are always lied to on dating because I'm sure you followed the general consensus that guys are like talking about the Disney fantasy, right? Like, do you know what I mean there?
What do you mean?
Well, they're told to like work hard, get a good job, find a wife, get the white picket fence, just be be nice, and she'll respect you, and like basically like filling that dream that you can't be a bad boy.
Yeah,
don't be an
yeah, the
asshole.
trads. Basically, that's what
basically.
trad is.
So yeah, it's the nickname for that within the red pill space is called the Disney fantasy. And then so most guys are like, okay, so I get it. People lied to me. Your pastor lied to me. TV only just shows husbands as idiots that their wives are ever going to yell at. And then the idea was like girls have it so easy. But then you make the case that, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this, because obviously you've been dating as a girl for a lot longer than me.
Yeah, I've been dating for a while. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, like how often, like when it comes to dating and not only the advice, but the narratives you've been given growing up, like how honest were they with you? Were you given a realistic assessment of the sexual marketplace, or were you kind of like just fed a different set of lies? Or is it nothing at all? Or does this just never come up for you? Is this only like a trad guy problem?
I mean, I was told that, you go to high school, then you go to college, then you find somebody. Like,
Oh, so it just happens.
Yeah, like I moved around a lot. Like I wasn't really talked to about like how to date.
Mm-hmm.
I was talked to about how not to date.
Ooh.
Like they said, don't sleep around, don't chase the guy, let him chase you. That's a big one. That's a big one.
Is it really?
Yeah, at least that's what my mother said. She's right. Like if he really likes you, he'll come after you. You don't have to push it. So that was smart.
Oh.
I was told men like smart women. My dad told me that. He said you don't have to act like you're dumb. So that was good. But I wasn't given.
Now, does that work? Because that, like, I'm sorry, I got to dip into those two because those are both awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
The men like smart women. Now, my understanding is it's kind of tangential. Guys like girls that are attractive, and if you're smart, that's great. But if you're like, a fat, miserable cow of a person that you're also smart, then they don't care. But yeah, the point is though, like, how did you find that worked? Like, have you tried playing dumb and see, it did okay, but then you just acted like yourself and talked about your writing and you find it was better or worse, or it didn't really matter?
No, I mean, in my experience, guys typically like smart women.
Oh, so interesting. So you mean to
Yeah.
tell me all those chicks running their mouth about how guys want dumb, submissive chicks on Twitter might be lying or might not have experience? We're
I
gonna
mean,
trash talk some
for
chicks on
what?
Twitter.
Like what? Oh,
I don't. Well, that's like
I
the
typically
weirdest.
don't like. Well, okay, I'll
Yeah.
do it. Okay.
Well, no, that's the weirdest thing is that like
Yeah.
so many angry chicks online keep talking about this. Guys don't want smart women; they're intimidated by it. But I mean, I'm sitting here and you're like, yeah, in my experience, it's been the opposite of the case. I just like I like that idea. You don't hear it very much, and I'm curious if you want to expand on
Um.
it.
I
You must hate how I
mean,
keep putting you on the spot with these
no,
very
no,
like,
no, 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 no. I'm not like the most spontaneous person in the world, but like,
oh,
uh, the the best DMs I've gotten have been guys who paid attention to my stuff, or guys who complimented like my writing style, or like asked me like, respectful questions about my experiences, not like, hey, like, because then I mean, like, what is it a woman wants? Like,
that's the eternal question everybody wants to know.
I mean,
What
if
does
a
a girl
woman
want?
wants to have sex, like, he doesn't care how if she's smart to
Right.
have sex.
Makes
Like,
sense.
obviously, but then
Yeah.
she's just going to be like, oh, he used me for sex. So it's, I mean, what's the goal? I think.
Oh, I get you. So yeah, if
Yeah,
all you want to
yeah,
do is get
yeah,
your rocks off, then it doesn't
yeah,
matter. But
yeah, yeah,
you at least want to have breakfast the next morning. So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I got to at least hold a conversation through like 8 in the morning when we have a
yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
Heaven for heaven forbid people have a normal, realistic idea of this stuff. So you mean to tell me though that if I don't have a 6-pack, 6-figure salary, 6'6", that I have a chance? That's by the way, that's my big problem with the black pill guys. You ever heard that?
Oh,
The 666 rule or whatever?
yeah. They're so like, I have never met a group of people more obsessed with looks than the incels. They're more obsessed with looks than women.
What?
Like, yes. They're
Jesus.
like they send messages, they're like, rate my face. Rate my face. I'm sub 6. I'm sub 3.
What the how do you even answer that?
I'd
Like
say
actually,
I
how do you
refuse.
answer
I
that?
refuse to rate your face. I will not do I will not. Like, so I'm sure some women do. I'm sure some women enjoy hurting incels, but like I mean, I remember what that was like. I remember the incels in college. They weren't called incels back then, but like they were in a lot of pain. And
Yeah.
I guess I used to kind of torment them like, like everybody else did a little bit, but like, I mean, they're suffering, but they don't see an end to it. Like,
Yeah.
they don't realize it ends unless they're like in their 30s, and those guys exist. Oh no, there's like
Oh no, I've met one or two.
yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
exist.
yeah.
Well, no, you just because that got me thinking on that one too. When you see these guys talking about it's hopeless, there's nothing to do about it, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. Like I was a late bloomer myself. I was like 18 before I
18.
finally, yeah, 18. So I had to
Is
wait.
that late?
For my school, it was. Let's just say I showed up to my grade 8 class with a girl who had a kid. So yeah, I was very very late.
No,
But
I was 15.
oh, fair.
Well,
Actually, you know what? Most girls are saying that. I've noticed that, like around 15 or so. Carl even talks about it, where it's a lot of guys don't get why women are having an easier time dating, and they think you guys are special or Machiavellian masterminds or, emotional bobbleheads or whatever. And I'm just thinking, and we've just kind of come to the conclusion it's experience. Like right there, you got 3-4 years on me, easy. Can you imagine if you had been right? Well, I mean, I guess you had been. Like, imagine somebody who just started writing and you had been writing for 4 years. Whose articles are going to be
oh,
better?
I mean, I don't know. He was 16. Like, yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
But
Well, that's
I
the
know
that's
a
the
lot of girls
Chad
go for
narrative, right?
older.
That some small
Yeah.
percentage of guys are dating all the things, and then
Yeah.
all the girls are dating those guys. The Pareto
Mm-hmm.
principle stuff. I love,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, how you know all the jargon, so I don't have to like translate this stuff to normie English. It saves so
I'm
much
very
time.
online.
Yeah, I want to say I'm just saying
Yeah.
heartfelt thank you that
Yeah.
I don't have to. But yeah, yeah, the incel guys, and I get it, like the late bloomer, but for some reason they don't seem to translate into action. Do you know? And the
Incels?
faces. Yeah, I find a lot of them they kind of like they have camaraderie now. They have like they can join their club and have their group, and then they don't have to worry about getting out of their comfort zone because they have like the Goon. Do you remember the Goonies, the movie?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it was a great movie. Bunch of kids find a pirate ship and they go to find treasure, but they were like the nerd kids and the outcasts that nobody liked, and they called themselves the Goonies, and it was like a pejorative, but they liked it and they owned it. And it just seems to me that's like the incels are like the Goonies, minus One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship full of gems, which sucks because that was a great movie.
Okay, I'll
I
watch it.
can't,
I'll take your
dude.
recommendation.
I can't. Okay, I had a rule when I was dating that a girl who didn't like the Goonies, I couldn't date her.
Damn.
And the only girl I ever broke that for was the girl that I am still dating today. So
Shit.
it's a stupid rule.
Oh, you've been with someone for a long time. I remember.
Yeah, we've been together for 12 years now, and that's
Holy
like,
shit.
I know.
Wow.
It's
That's
possible.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you can like, are you single or are you dating? Are you which one?
Mm,
Both?
there's a couple of guys I'm talking to. Yeah, I'm single.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if I ever cross the line on comfort on a question, just let
No.
me know.
I would let you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess the topic of this thing is kind of turning into understanding how much of these little narratives that the guys are telling themselves on is absolute bullshit and doesn't translate to real life. That's kind of where I'm going with this one. And I'm seeing tons of examples. You're like, yeah, there was a couple guys that were dating at my age when I first started dating. I was dating at this age. Most guys are a lot later, so they're behind on it. Those guys have now found like an incel subculture that's good on it. Turns out then they're all saying, and then the girls complaining that guys just want stupid girls that don't act out on their own. And you're like, yeah, no, every guy I've ever dated has actually kind of appreciated that I can hold a conversation without tripping on my feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
I would
Like,
say every single one. Yeah.
Yeah. But you see what I mean here? Like there's so much misinformation. I want to do like the Trump fake news thing with just dating.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah. Like for guys, like I don't know, guys. You've heard the Disney fantasy one. What's the other one? The looks maxing one. You've seen that.
Oh God, yes, yes.
And as I have to ask. So just off the top of your head, the guy saying "rate my face."
Yeah, yeah.
On average, where were they between 1 and 10, if you could? No names, just as a general principle. Were they
Like
tended to be decently attractive, or?
Well, like a 3 or a 4, I guess. Like,
So
they weren't like. I mean,
Oh no, it's fixable. That's
yeah,
the
they
thing.
were normal. They were pretty normal looking.
Like you said, a haircut, a shave,
Yeah,
maybe a couple hours in the gym could sort all that out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they might. A lot of them probably are like autistic or autism adjacent.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you said you did a bunch of articles on that early on too.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Before I published the Proud Boy article, and then nobody wanted to publish my stuff.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Such
yeah.
a catty group. Well, now the autism thing. I want to move on to that one a little bit here. So I don't know much about it, other than my bias was I always treat it like people talk about gluten intolerance. It seems to be like the hip and trendy thing to do, but I know it's a real thing. And I know it's a lot of people get mad when I use like autistic as like a pejorative, which I mean, fair enough. Like, I don't know. Like, is that true? The thing that girls actually get autism too?
Yeah.
So I've always understood it as like a 99% male affliction.
No, it just presents different. It looks different.
Oh, so what's the difference? Like, give me an example here.
I mean, the main difference is being obsessed with different things. Like when,
oh,
yeah.
I see. So between guys with autism and girls.
Yeah, the girls will get more obsessed with more female things. Like relationships or like celebrities are actually a big one for girls.
Really?
Yeah, animals. I mean, this is not always like there's autistic female like engineers and stuff. But yeah, the main difference is like the coded interests. Really, astrology, all that stuff. You just get really, really into it. Yes.
You've just blown my mind. Okay.
Really?
I'm seeing so many chicks talk about MBTI. I've seen so many chicks talk about horoscopes.
Yeah, in my 20s, I was really into MBTI.
Yeah, and obsessed with like celebrity stuff. Mm-hmm. But now, when I always thought it was just like some weird chick thing, you're like, actually, that's kind of like a medical disorder to be fixated on this stuff to that extent. Mm-hmm. And now it just kind of blew my mind that I've basically been like annoyed with autistic people for being autistic, and I really feel like an asshole.
It's all right. I mean, there's like if we're talking about diagnosable autism,
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's physical tells. Like a lot of these, I think a lot of people who talk about it now, now that it's entered the lexicon,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people don't have a diagnosis. And I'm not sure if they would qualify or not. My guess is they wouldn't.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's why I thought gluten intolerance. You know, everybody says they have celiacs, but then they can't eat gluten in groups, but when they're by themselves, they'll eat candy and cookies and not care. But it makes sense because, like, is there? Because from what I understand, there's like no blood test you can do for it. It's like strictly a behavioral thing, right? Or like, is there brain patterns? Like, is it something physical that you can see in somebody?
I'm
Like test.
sure, like brain scans, they're doing research into it.
Huh.
Like, so there would be different brain patterns, but like, no, it would be right now. It's the same, basically, as diagnosing like bipolar or
Oh,
they,
borderline
yeah,
personality disorder, the favorite one in the
yeah,
sphere.
yeah, yeah. Like it,
I just
yeah.
laugh at the BPD things. I'm not laughing at the autism. I
Why?
just
Why do you laugh at it?
well, BPD, I
Yeah.
borderline. Like everybody has their story about how they dated a borderline girl, and I've been talking to
Oh.
like a lot of guys over the years, and it turns out like it's amazing how every guy who's dated like a borderline personality disorder person is also a complete codependent floor mat. And I'm almost wondering if it's
Every
like she's
single
not
one.
BPD, bro. You're just fucking weak. But that was all I was
Um,
laughing about there. It has nothing to do with the autism thing here. But that's actually kind of interesting. I did, like I said, for me, I'm still in the girls having autism is just trying to sneak in on male spaces thing. So I guess I can admit when I was wrong there. Thank you very much. Learning a lot.
I mean, I could be like honest about the BPD thing.
Well, please do. I don't want you to lie about it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Uh, one of the main things is like a person with BPD will push limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like they want to know, they don't like boundaries are a big issue, so you want to know where the boundary is. So you push, like you keep pushing to see where it is, right? And like
Right.
a simpy guy is going to let you walk all over him. Like he's not going to have a boundary. So she's just going to keep pushing to test, like a woman testing how strong her man is. This would just be like an extreme version of that.
Oh, so
So maybe
extreme
that's
limiting.
what, yes, yeah. So these guys are having issues, I guess.
That actually is super interesting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like hearing this stuff here. So I want to jump back to the Proud Boys for a bit. You don't mind we keep jumping back and forth like this? I know you were
No,
saying you
no,
like you
no,
want
no.
to.
I'm really enjoying this.
Oh,
After
okay,
this, I'm
good.
going to Electric Zoo.
Electric Zoo. What is that?
Yeah, it's a rave festival that my
Oh,
friends
fair
and I are
enough.
going. We're gonna,
Dude, they
yeah.
still do raves?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I used to live when I went to university. It was in the North Thompson in British Columbia. There's like deserts out there, and we used to have desert
What?
raves all the time. I never
What?
did E or anything, but I used to love just going out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Having said that, it was like 40 degrees at night, so it was like the stupidest thing ever. You had to drink water, and as fast as you were drinking it, you were sweating it. So wherever you are, I'm hoping it's a little bit colder than like 35 Celsius, which I think is like 110 in American
I'm
units.
in New York. We're just gonna go to an island. I think Randall's. Yeah.
Fair enough. Is that the part of New York that's not flooding right now, or is that one underwater too?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if it were flooding, they would cancel it. They haven't.
Right.
So
Yeah, what's up with that, by the way? Did you see this on the news? Like subways are just filling up with water. Like what happened?
I don't. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I haven't been on the subway in a couple days, so if it's full of water, I guess I'm gonna have to go home. And I lost my ticket. I
Oh,
don't know.
fair
I don't
enough. Like
know.
was it just
Yeah.
like a hurricane, or like did a
Hmm.
breakwater thing break, or?
No, it was a hurricane. I don't. I saw the pictures. I'm not really sure what happens, but we have. I mean, this isn't our first hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Especially people who live like in Queens and along the Rockaways. Like the closer that you are to the ocean, like the more issues you're gonna have.
Right. Makes
So
sense. Oh,
Hurricane
fair enough.
Sandy like obliterated parts of New York. I don't think this was as bad.
Oh yeah, I remember that Hurricane
Mm-hmm.
Sandy. That was a bad year. I was living in Montreal at the time, and they had a huge flood in our downtown too for the same thing. Yeah,
Oh
the East Coast
man.
had a rough go. It was just the St. Lawrence River, though. It's not as cool as the Atlantic Ocean. But I mean, we're Canada. We can never quite do anything as big as you guys in the States. What can I tell you?
Wait, you're in Canada?
Yeah. Fucking
Wow.
rights, eh?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't do the research. That's
Oh no, it's
cool.
whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine. The whole point of these things is a conversation to get to know somebody. So I
Okay.
kind of like how there's still some mystery in this stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I've lived on the coast, like in BC, Alberta, Quebec, uh, Ontario. Spent some time in the prairies. So it's kind of like those guys. You know the guys that you see that have like, yeah, I've visited half the country. I'm like one of those guys, but for Canada. We only have 10 provinces though, even though you guys have 50 states, so it's a bit easier up here.
It sounds great. I've never been to outside the US.
Yeah. Well, you did say you traveled and you've lived in a lot of places, right? Like I'm assuming military brat or just you just like to travel.
No, I just like I mean I just went to grad school and then I moved to New York like 8 years ago.
Oh.
So I've just like gone to different places.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I correct me if I'm wrong here, but I find like the more somebody travels and the more different places they live, the more of a nuanced opinion they tend to get on a lot of subjects. Because obviously, the New York impression on some things is going to be different than I don't know South Dakota and California or Washington. But did you find that kind of helped you out as you were going through? Like, oh, I used to
Mm-hmm.
be real strongly about this, but now I kind of realized, like, yeah. Basically, have
Um,
you become more worldly? I guess is what I'm asking.
I guess living in different parts of the US.
Yeah,
I
sure,
guess.
why not?
Yeah.
So you remember when I told you I have like a very good audience, like the least autistic one, very kind. Yeah, this is the trolling that we get here. Maple syrup trees selling syrup to make a living.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay. By
ban him for that.
Ghost Cat. All right.
Ghost cat. What's ghost cat? Oh, ghost cat.
That
The
was
guy.
the
Yeah.
name. That was this person's name.
So I guess on the Proud Boy one, this is where I was. Oh yeah, this is where I was going with
I
this
knew
one.
it. I knew
Dude,
it.
we get
Yeah.
distracted so goddamn easy.
Yeah.
I saw in the article you talked about how the guy was like quoting Evola.
Yes.
How familiar are you with this author?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, me neither. That was my question because there was a bunch of guys in the red pill before like Rolo and all them started getting on YouTube and they used to start loving Evola, and I couldn't figure out why. And I usually have a rule that if like there's something that I've never seen before and I have no context for, to see if it's a waste of time or not, see who's like talking about it. And if the guy's an idiot, then I probably won't care. But if the guy's like, oh, he seems pretty cool, I'll give it a shot. And Evola was one of those guys. There's this,
Hmm.
and he literally has autism. He was a failed lawyer out of like New York somewhere. He called himself Gay Lou Boyle.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah. This. Welcome to the red pill, not the shit you see on Twitter.
Okay.
And he just kept going off about the oh, what's that stupid thing? I guess you don't really know it at all, so this is probably a wasted topic. But something about like the gamma male, like secret prince, the aristocrat of the soul. So when this guy started talking about, did you ever get the impression that he thought he was destined for greatness and just nobody understood it? Because that's everybody who talks about Evola seems to have that same attitude. And I'm curious if it's just I got unlucky or there's something in Evola to talk about that.
Oh, the guy?
Yeah.
No, I think he was just learning about things.
Oh, fair enough.
I think he believed in it. Like I think he was coming from a genuine place that he thinks that like for example, we were in the subway
Right.
and they had an ad for a show called Single Parents. And he was like, yeah, and he was like, why are we advocating single parenthood? And this is something interesting in right-wing spaces that people are like, oh, freedom, like everybody can have freedom. Everybody can do what they want, like don't infringe on me.
Right.
But it's
But
right. No, a conservative will point out there is no way that someone's freedom isn't affecting somebody else. Just the nature of it.
Oh, okay.
I guess economically and sexually.
No, that
Like,
makes sense. That's like what's that argument they make where your right to throw a punch stops at my face or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Oh, okay, okay.
exactly. And he thought that the fact that the media is advocating certain ideas, like advocating single parenthood, like we don't have values, we don't have a value system, and we need a value system.
Hmm. So I guess whose value system? Because it sounds like they're preaching a value system that's different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
guess
mean,
for me, yeah, but I'm Canadian, so I'm not right wing at all, and I think the space was never meant to be political. So for me, it was always just kind of like it is what it is. Don't engage in the
Yeah.
stuff you don't want to see, and engage in the stuff you do want to see. I don't know if that makes me one thing or the other. So,
I'm
but yeah,
wondering
but
when the red pill and like the pickup stuff, like when did that become Republican?
oh, dude,
Like I
okay,
don't remember Tucker Max being political like
do
at
you know whose
all.
fucking fault this was?
Who?
Goddamn Jordan Peterson. And I say this with love,
Uh,
as a he also lives in Toronto, so he's like right over there. He went on with his speeches about cleaning your room, don't worry about doing like, and he's very anti-communist, anti-socialism, and he hated the idea of the government mandating speech. I'm sure you know the Jordan Peterson spiel about like the transgender stuff,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
expelled
yeah,
speech.
yeah.
At around this time, 2014, 15 maybe, all of a sudden there was like an influx of guys that kept just repeating Jordan Peterson talking points within the red pill. It was insane. It was always that, and it was literally the TradCon fantasy kind of found its little attack vector, like a virus. It was the COVID for fucking red pill. And it got to a point where the moderators used to have to like come out with just bait articles like Jordan Peterson is not your friend, or you don't need a wife, only a blowjob. They're actually really good articles. The you don't need a wife, only a blowjob kind of describes how marriage used to be in like the 1500s versus the 1800s versus today.
Yeah.
But I mean, I won't belabor you with that. You can ask later if you want to hear more about it. But and then what would happen is anybody who would get out there and start just preaching Jordan Peterson talking points were like, all right, boot the guy, boot him, like as a quality control thing. And then he ended up getting on PragerU, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like a conservative, like pseudo university. I don't know. Do you know what it is?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I just know everybody keeps talking about it. I think it's like some kind of Christian evangelical traditional conservative university slash media thing. Somebody in the chat will have to help me out on this one. Yeah, it will do. He's saying don't pull a fresh and fit. Don't expel Gwen from the podcast to gain subscribers. Yeah, don't worry. We're not pulling a fresh or a fit here. You can check her DMs. I haven't tried to do anything unsavory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
So then
like
they
you
and
see,
all
you're
the
very
and all,
nice.
oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the trads started coming in, and then the Trump train started hitting, and then the Donald subreddit started going, and then all of a sudden there was like this weird conservative influx, and it's been a part of it ever since. And I could like Pat Stedman. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Do you know this face? Okay,
Yeah.
he fucking hates me,
Why?
and I don't blame him because I've given him every reason to. He did what a lot of the conservatives did in the pivot around 2018 is they started to turn on the red pill because all of a sudden they're like, these guys are talking about sex and like real shit that matters. And
Oh.
so they started this thing called upstream Twitter. You don't mind that I'm doing kind of like guy gossip, do you?
No,
That's not a very
no.
masculine
I,
thing.
I think it's charming that you guys are so like it's not just women who fight. Like you guys
Yeah.
fight all the time.
Oh, it's bickering like fucking kids, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his thing was like Rolo is an asshole. He's a huckster. He's turning young men to the black pill. He's just a degenerate pickup artist. Rolo's never been a pickup artist. He's been married for like 25 years. He has a kid who just finished college, going out on her own, educated, smart, kind of like you were talking about, the kind of people that guys like to talk to.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so there was like a whole war room of these guys. Literally, they called their little private space a war room, and then they tried to like take everybody and bring it to their new thing. And it turns out all the new thing was like Christian evangelical minus Jesus. So they would talk about like lizard people and Illuminati and MBTI and
Oh, that sounds so cool.
yeah, it sounds cool in the same way that The Avengers was a great movie.
Yeah.
But imagine some guy who's like 20, I've never kissed a girl before, walking into that shit. And so that was our thing. It's like, dude, if you want to do that, fill your boots. You know, it'd be, like you said, it'd be cool, it'd be interesting. You learn about all this crazy, you know, lizard people, Illuminati stuff. But like, we're just over here helping guys to get laid so they can stop focusing so much on sending DMs to girls saying, rate my face. Like, it's a simple problem, right?
Yeah. A simple problem, less simple solution.
Yeah. I like that. Every time I mention anything about rating my face, you get like this look of consternation. You're like, ugh.
No, it's just that
Like I'm tapping into Vietnam flashbacks.
I feel bad. I feel bad. I feel bad.
Well, feel bad. That's fine. But, you know.
Yeah, I know a lot
tough
of guys
love.
have issues, you know.
They do, but they got to fix it. I mean, there's nobody else to fix it.
Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, I'm sure you're like every other person. You've had your share of like shit that's gone wrong in life or shit that's been
Right.
a little harder to deal with.
I've had a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And and here's the other red pilled assumption. You have to let me know if this is true or not. That generally speaking, there's a better support network for women. Like when you're on hard times, are people generally sympathetic? Did they tend to kick you when, I mean, Vice article aside, they kind of kicked you when you were down there. But did you
Are you
find it was
asking?
like it was easier for you to find a support network to get through these things, or were you kind of just on your own too? Yeah, putting you on the spot on this one. I tell you what, why don't we put a pin in it? We'll come
Um,
back to it later. If something pops in your head, you can
yeah.
mention
Well,
it.
I was just gonna like people are not always sympathetic to women. If
Yeah.
you act out like, I mean, my family is very like, you know, if you act out, you get called out. Like at least for me, that's been what's happened. So, I mean, maybe other women have like more of a support cushion, but I'm pretty introverted, so.
Interesting. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
that
I also
impression.
tend to speak my mind. Introverted, speak your mind. You know, people come at you. So.
All right, another tangent.
Mm-hmm.
You've just reminded me of like my family's Christmas tradition. And let me know if this
Hmm.
sounds like your family. There was five of us and my mom and stepdad. We would sit in a circle at Christmas. And then since we knew each other so well, because we've been family our whole lives, we would find the red button issues to get the other person almost in tears. And then we would take turns picking on each member of the family to get them to the point where they wanted to fight. And then we went and got drunk. Now, is that just my crazy family speaking their minds and pissing everybody off for funsies, or is that you, or is that yours too?
No, no, it's
Oh,
just like,
so
yeah.
okay. Apparently
When
I've been
I
trained to
fucked
be an
up, I
asshole.
heard about it.
Ah, fair enough.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
no,
interesting
yeah,
then.
yeah.
And
From other women and men. So, like,
oh,
yeah, I think that people assume that women have it easy.
well, yeah, and this is actually
Hmm.
this leads into a point. I'm gonna give a little like fucking sermon right here because this is the one thing that separates this channel from other channels. I'm sure you've watched enough guys talking to themselves MGTOW. Don't mind Chomsky here; he's just doing his thing. Get in here.
Oh, is that
Oh,
a
you
cat?
haven't seen him? Italian
Oh, it's
Greyhound.
an, oh!
Yeah, should have done your research. Yeah, he usually when I do these podcasts, he likes to sit on my lap and have a nap. But lately, he likes stepping on the cord.
Oh,
Oh, I was gonna say for the things like I'm sure you've watched enough MGTOW or Black Pilled or all those guys' content where do you notice how they treat women like a Swiss watch? Like I gotta figure her out if I can just understand the nuts and bolts.
yeah, that's been going on forever since like at least the 90s. Like they
Oh
had
yeah,
books. Yeah, men are
but
from
then I
Mars,
was
women are from Venus.
oh yeah, I remember that one. Haven't read it. I feel like I should though. It seems like it's the kind of thing that I should know about better. But uh, but that was my point, right? Like in here, we try not to talk about the women too much. We actually used to ban. I was from also a moderator in a different subreddit called the Married Red Pill. So it's guys who got red pilled after they got married because
Nice.
because nobody wants to get divorced, raped, and like a dead bedroom really sucks.
Yeah.
And we used to call it like a Rule 9 violation. If you read the story and the main character in a guy's field report was the wife, you tend to just boot the guy because he can't even think for himself. And the point I'm going with all this, though, is that
Yeah.
so I'm telling you stuff that a lot of red pill guys talk about. Oh, yeah, women have it easy, women this, women this, women this. But just talking to you, I've tried that 3 times now. And every time you're like, that makes no sense. It's never worked that way. No, my family was not like that or super supportive, and I didn't have it easier in the same way that you guys are thinking. And so I guess my point is here, and I'm curious on your thoughts that guys focused too much on trying to figure women out are just filling their heads with a lot of stupid nonsense, and they'd probably be better off focusing on themselves.
Yes, but
A bit of a leading question, I know. But, oh,
um,
be honest, it's fine. I don't even care.
women do like a little bit of playfulness. They do like when guys are, you know, when guys don't make it too easy for us. That's true.
Yeah,
It's true. Like,
that's fair
so
enough.
yeah, and women want a guy who's got his own life, like a guy who has some charisma. And it's not awful if a guy has experience.
Oh,
I made a post about that, and that pissed people off. Like people were really mean to me on Twitter. Like it's really they were
dear
vicious.
God, say it's not so. People are
Yeah,
assholes on Twitter.
I know,
Have you
I
have you,
know.
have you seen my account?
Yeah, yeah, you're a lot nicer than you're really vicious on there. Like you're a lot nicer
Oh,
right now
thank
than
you.
you are in writing. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't want to be, but it's like the only way you can get found out on Twitter is by either being a complete retard or being an asshole, and I don't know
Hmm.
how to do retard. Kind of like you in that way. You seem to be very good at pissing people off, or such a very
Yeah.
introverted and like, I don't want to say milk toast, but I can't think of a better word.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
know it
think
calls you boring,
I think I'm a
but I don't
nice
want to
enough
say that.
person.
Yeah, nice
Yeah.
enough. Dude, we've been talking for 45 minutes now. Perfectly pleasant. I've had no complaints. If I was single, I'd probably be trying to like Kino Escalator hit on you at this point. I'm just
Uh,
saying. But yeah,
oh
and then
man.
so then I see your articles, and to be fair, your articles aren't that adversarial either. But you just get like the weirdest over emotional reaction to them.
Well,
And
I
that's the part that
said
gets me. So like you're not crazy. Does that mean everybody else is crazy? Or is there something I'm not seeing here?
the last time I went viral on Twitter, I said, if you want an alpha, he's gonna cheat, accept it, or find someone lower on the pole. And
Oh
people were
yeah.
mad.
I saw that, dude. I didn't even see it from your tweet. I saw it from like all of a sudden somebody liked like 15 quote tweets of it. And you actually got like a whole corner of Twitter, like a new namespace. They start calling
What?
it, have you heard about this? They're calling it wall Twitter now. Like the idea of
Nice.
women hitting the wall.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
no,
yeah, it's pretty
I saw.
savage.
I saw. I saw.
But I was like, holy shit.
I guess I'm flattered that I have a whole space dedicated to me. And I think it was Alexandrovna, mommy milkers with the boobs.
Oh yeah.
Like all three of us were, they were dragging us because that was the topic of the day is office cheating.
Oh, and
And
Kate.
oh, yeah, yeah. But
Do you know Kate very well as an account or no?
yeah, no, I know her. We're friends on there. She's very nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you know she's been in the red pill space like as long as me?
No.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, married red pill used to be like a co-ed space. Just a couple rules, like don't give advice, but offer your perspective when it's there. Feel free to lurk. If you have to say I am a woman, so then it's probably not a good thing. She's actually the reason that girls are no longer allowed in that space. Because she used to be great when it came to like lifting. If a guy was like had really crappy lifting numbers or big bad things there, she'd call him out. She's very good at working out in that. But there was this other guy. There's more guy gossip, by the way. Hope you don't mind. His name was Altmate Cad. He had a great story. Well, it was a sad story. His wife, he was kind of a fat schlub, and he's like, I'm thinking my wife's cheating on me. He put a GPS tracker in her car, noticed it drove to some like random place, and then when she got home, he asked like, "Hey, how was work and all that stuff?" And she totally like didn't talk about where she went there, and it turned out she was meeting like an old friend from college. So he never did too much to find out. He just like, all right, fuck it. She cheated on me. I can see why she did. I'm a fat slob. Started getting into great shape. He was basically checked out of the relationship. And then he started sleeping with anything that could walk. He's like, fuck it. And I'll leave her on my timeline. He wanted to wait until the kids turned 18, right? But you see like how you're looking at that, like, oh my God, what an asshole. So she hated him. And they used to fight constantly to the point that they would derail any talk. Because he had some great conversations like, if a girl cheats on you, you'll never know. And he would make stories about how he'd be with like a married girl in the cab, going back to a hotel or something, and she would
Yeah.
like call her husband and kids and act like perfect mom, and then put down the phone and then basically blow him in the cab. And he was telling these stories. And the whole point was that like, look, guys, all this focused on is she cheating, is she not? It's like you're never gonna know. It's
Women
just
have
live your life.
intuition though. Women know. Men,
Yeah,
I don't think men know.
I don't think men want to know. I think a lot of guys they like their ego is like, dude, trust me, you're good. No, it's and she makes up and he'll make up excuses for her. I really do. I think we're very stupid that way.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I guess
Oh
I should deal
man.
with this super chat, clear up this space from Jeff. Thanks, $5 super chat. Have
Jeff.
$5 for the awesome book. Haven't been around in the chat for a while, but being here again makes me want to reread. Also, I'm out of the army. Ah, dude, congratulations. Welcome to
Cool.
civilian land. You just got to learn how to write again. Oh,
Cool.
that was what got me interested in the writing, like from your article, because I remember you even showed it to me before you published it, which is really cool. But the whole reason I wanted to learn how to write better was because the military, if you've ever seen a military message, they call them ACP 127 and 128 formats. It's gibberish. Like you're not allowed to use the words a, the, for, of. You like skip all of those. I don't even know what those kind of words are. You know what I mean? So
Huh?
instead of saying I'm going to the store, you just say member request departure to store or departure, comma store, and it's like gibberish. Doesn't make any
Wow.
sense. So when I first started writing like my old blog, you would cry. You would cry if you saw how the English language was butchered in it. And
Huh.
so when you started then in 2013, like you said, you were always a writer.
Mhm.
Like, did you never have to go through a phase where your writing was complete shit? Like, obviously, it's gotten better the longer you've been writing. I'm
I
just curious
mean,
about other positions of how other people got to be where they are writing articles and pissing off progressives. I guess I don't know who's mad at this.
I guess I was good at English in school. I don't know.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I have had things to say. Like honestly, I'm kind of embarrassed to be there. I guess I'm
Dude,
not embarrassed to say this in this space, but
yeah,
you wanted to know how I discovered like the red pill.
I have
Like
been curious. Yeah.
I started reading Royce in college. Like
Oh no shit.
yeah, yeah. Like it was the
Dude.
big. That was like the big. It was the time when all of that stuff was happening, and I remember on campus there was a big thing. Like they say 20% of guys get all the girls.
Right. Yeah.
It
Pareto
was true.
principle stuff.
It was true. It was true. 100%.
Oh.
Like, and I was wondering why. Like, why did no one tell me this? And
Hmm.
then I read this blog, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, someone is talking about it. Like, someone is telling us. Like, and it was like I never commented. I never talked to anybody. I never told anybody for years, but I would like read this stuff like regularly. Like I would read like all the posts, and I also read Rushby. It was like
Oh,
exciting.
old
I'm
school.
like, oh my god, like someone's telling us the truth, you know?
Oh, can you believe though he did that switch
Yeah.
now to he's like super orthodox, kind of turned into like a messiah figure. It's such a weird pivot.
Oh, I totally believe that. Honestly,
Yeah.
like,
Really? Well,
I
how? Because I don't understand it.
mean,
I'm just some secular Canadian boy.
look, I've been hooking up for 20 years too. It gets old, you know. Like you really do start to feel like, ooh, you know. And it's
No,
actually kind of charming to hear that men feel the same way. Like that makes me happy. If you want me
fair
to be
enough.
honest, yeah,
No, I do. And to be
yeah.
fair, don't even when you said you're embarrassed, don't be. You would be
Hmm.
surprised. There is a lot, like not a huge amount, but there's a lot of like I call them female lurkers. There used
Hmm.
to be like there was Kate was the one. There was another one, a girl named Claire, and she was around like 2014, 2015 as well. She actually read more red pill stuff than I did, which is a tall order. Like I
Oh,
said,
where
she
is
knew
she
she knew
now?
now she's married somewhere in New York. I don't know. She kind of, because she was like you, where she started noticing the stuff. Her boyfriend or fiance at the time was cheating on her, and she was trying to process it. So she got into the red pill space, and she was a bit of a
Yeah,
book nerd.
yeah.
But it was great because, like, she knew Royce, but she knew back. It used to be called Royce in DC before it was Chateau Hartiste. So, like,
Oh, oh.
do you remember the old Chateau Hartiste stuff or the old like Royce in DC stuff?
And no, this Chateau Heartiste. I
Oh yeah.
didn't.
So that was the
Yeah,
thing. He most of the red pill guys used to be like pickup artists.
yeah.
And then that Royce in DC was his pickup stuff, and then he had transitioned from there the red pill stuff where he kind of got like you said. You started noticing all this stuff around and nobody was talking about it. He's like, whatever, I'm just gonna start talking about it. I love that stuff.
Also, the writing quality was really high.
Yeah. That's the other thing I can't figure out too. It's like, how does how is he not writing for a living? Like, how did he not have a book like Delicious Tacos or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, I hope he's still writing wherever he is, whoever he is. I don't.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You know.
Maybe. And now is that's my joke now is like I bet you Delicious Tacos is actually him, but it doesn't because DT is in California. I believe he works for like the film industry. Do you know this guy at all?
Yeah, we're friends on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know him. Like,
Oh, of course, friends on Twitter. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like one of the three girls he's actually like seen on Twitter who knows who he is. So,
Oh wow. Oh wow.
well, that's
Cool.
always his joke is that he has like a bunch of incel followers. I don't know. I enjoy
Oh.
his work. He sent me a signed copy of And Now for Some Good News.
Oh, cool.
I actually took it and I read it all on a whole vacation with my brother and his Tinder date down in just outside of Cancun in some island. And I'm sitting
Nice.
there reading Delicious Tacos work. It was such a cringy thing. But yeah, I like these spaces. I'm actually surprised if you don't come out with something like this in the next like couple years because you've already
It's
kind of got like a
something like what?
reputation now of like
Oh, I do.
uncomfortably honest. I'd say so. I mean,
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
like first off, for street cred alone, just having people at Vice hate you is a good thing. Like that's what Tim Pool made his fortune on. And look
I
at
would
him now.
I would love to be more of a writer. Like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, why don't you? That's, I guess, my good question. Is it just because you've been busy with
um,
other things? Because,
no, it's I don't really know where to publish.
oh, just self-publish. Okay. Are
Yeah.
you part of this? I had another cast a while back with this girl, Savvy Writes What. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's like a like full on short haired uh, feminist type. There
Nice.
was here. You ready for some more guy drama?
Sure, sure, sure. This is
So there
delightful.
was there was yeah there was this social justice warrior type feminist named Emily Stone, short hair, British girl. She does like reaction videos on YouTube. She did one of Richard Cooper, where he was talking about his zombie apocalypse story, where he's out with a girl. He's like, yeah, you ask her at the zombie apocalypse, what would you do? And if she's not there loading ammo while you're shooting zombies, she's not the one for you. It's like you were saying, playful, kind of like a fun little game.
Yeah.
So she kind of took that literally, and then she did a big reaction video on it. Then it somehow found its way to the Rule Zero guys, and they're laughing at this. So then we did like a reaction video to this one, and then her friend Savvy did a reaction video to us reacting, and then Savvy and I talked to like, why don't we just have like a like enjoy the clout thing here and just like collab and do like a podcast. We did 4 hours, and it was like the worst. It was like if a train wreck met morning sickness met cancer. It was horrible. Her
4 hours.
husband, 4 hours. Rolo was only there for the last two, but it was like, all right, it was a case of there'd be some red pill concept, and she would take it completely out of context, super literally, and then accuse us of being something. Her husband was like just high on the cast. He just smoked weed. He barely said anything, and he was confused, like, why are you guys even lifting? And it was like, oh, okay. And then at the end of it, she put out like a 10-minute video apologizing to her audience, saying that we were cultists. And I'm like, oh, I really regret that.
4 hours, and then she just like stabs you in the back.
Yeah. Well, I
All
mean,
right.
whatever. It is what it is. But the point is, like, those kind of people give you a lot of clout because they don't like the stuff you write on the occasions that they actually see it. Even though at this point it's just like tweets and the occasional article.
Yeah.
And it's stuff I can't get people that mad. I've tried. I call like chicks broads and everything on Twitter. You've seen how acerbic I can be on there.
Oh, that's like not that bad. You've said much worse things.
Well, I didn't want to say cunt, but you know what I mean. But then the Australian girls are like, "Oh, that's cool. Thanks, man." And I'm like, "Fuck." But I mean, it's Twitter. It's like it's how you get engagement, right? But yeah, I just.
Yeah.
But oh, the question I had is she wasn't self-published. She's doing like a publishing house things, and then it turns out a lot of people in like the publishing house space really don't like the self-publishing people. Does this? Because I noticed you kind of gave a look when I talked about self-publishing too. Is that kind of where I'm going with this?
No, no. My main issue is I'm not consistent enough. I don't know if I could put out 3 blog posts a week about like. I mean, I don't know if I could do it.
What about like an actual book?
Yeah, that'd be
Book, you can
great.
just take a year.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. I have more stories. I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of stuff to say.
Well, that's the thing. That's what
Not all of it is good. Not all of it was positive. But
dude, I'm telling you right now. So, for example, my book, the first chapter, was me when I was doing pickup. I met a girl and I was hitting on her and doing all the routines and stuff. And then halfway through, she stops it, and she reminds me that we'd already slept together. But I didn't like. It's not that I didn't remember her. I didn't even recognize the face. And it was like a watershed. I know it was like a watershed.
You've really. I'm sorry, but you've really been with that many women like that? You don't.
It
like,
didn't take.
I
just
really
have a bad memory. I have a horrible memory.
Sure.
She was like the second one. No. No, but that was the point. Was like all these guys talking about notch counts and shit like that. I'm like, well, if I'm forgetting events, then what the fuck's the point? And so that was the idea. Like, so you said, and like, it's not a cool story. Most guys, like you said, Tucker Max. What's his stories? You've read his book, right?
Yes, I remember. My friends paid me to do to like write a book report about his book.
Oh, really? How did that?
Yeah,
go?
in college. That's how I first discovered the red pill. Was reading Tucker Max's book. It was
Jesus.
Violent.
Oh,
it was.
I know.
It was a little overly like some of the stuff, like the fat, like you stomp on some fat girl's throat. I'm like, dude, like that's psychotic. But
yeah,
I did like it.
You know the part that pissed me off the most?
What?
Was the part where he was at that Mexican hotel and he took a shit on the floor?
Man. Ew.
But
But
it's
that's
not just
just
because
gross,
it's disgusting
though.
and that. The part that got me, like, my family is like 3 generations of farmers. And so the
Yeah.
idea of fucking with like working class people really bothers me. And ever since then, I've hated him
Oh.
for it.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's a rich kid. That was
Oh,
his
yeah, fair
thing, I
enough.
think.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. But you know what I mean? Like, his stories were all like how awesome he is and how great this
Yeah.
shit is and he's the king of
Yeah.
the world and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I'm proof you can show like a nice example of a book. I've got tons of stories in there where shit went really bad for me. Like, my BPD chick, I'm hunting her down in the streets and that. So I
Wait,
think it's,
what?
yeah, well, it's like everybody has
That's
their BPD experience, and she kind of suckered me in
uh,
because she said I was, you know how they fall in love fast and then they fall out of love fast, but
uh,
guys are a little bit slower.
I, I might have been someone's BPD experience.
Yeah, fair enough. I I'm gonna put a pin in this because I want you to come back to that story if you're comfortable with it. I'm actually really curious about it. Some guys and the guys in the chat who have read the book, tell me how close it resonates with the chapter on Charlie the Unicorn. I'm very curious. Actually, you know what? Let's do it now. I'm
I should
curious.
read
Would you
your
Would you
book.
mind? What's
Sure.
that?
I should
Yeah,
read your book.
tell
But
me
yeah,
about
sure.
the other side of the BPD experience.
I just opened up the
Oh, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's fine.
no, I don't know. I had a fiance, and now I don't.
Oh, oh, fair
That's
enough.
what I'm gonna say. But I'm not sure he would say. I don't think he would call me milk and toast. That's the
Oh,
only
so you're
thing I'm
saying
gonna. That's the only thing. That's
there's
the
a
only
hidden
thing I'm
darker
gonna say.
side of you, and I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm
Oh,
gonna say. Yeah.
see, you can't just say shit like that. Like, hey, just so you know, I'm actually Batman outside of this bedroom, and then expect me not to be like, what the fuck?
I know, I know, I know, I know, I
Maybe
know.
that's why then you put all the hippie pillows in that, but in behind there's like a BDSM kit just to the left off screen.
No,
No, I don't know.
no. It's the guy's job to buy that shit.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah. Well, so that was exactly the same thing. This is why I think it'd be a great idea for you to do that stuff. So my example was just she was said all the right things, and that's when I realized as a guy the reason we're such easy marks for like borderline type behavior is because we'll be on a date with a girl and we'll tell her everything, tell her all the stuff we're into, the perfect girl for us, and we'll open our heart out. And then all she had to do was like just pay attention. It's like I can do that, I can do that, and she's hooked
Oh,
on it. Yeah, she did all of it. But then that was the problem. After like a couple months, she's like, "Yeah, move on to the next thing."
she was sick of you. Oh my god. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Oh my god. I know Harry and Meghan. Like you guys talked about them.
Oh, the royals there.
Yeah, they said that. Now this is awful. Like,
Hmm.
and I don't. How would I know if this is true? I didn't really follow, but that she used to wear clothes, the kind of outfits that his mother wore
Oh, I remember seeing a little thing
when
on
she.
that.
Yeah,
That's some
that's.
Machiavellian shit, man.
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking, it's like, oh, what the fuck was the movie? There was like a horror movie. It was like Friday the 13th. Oh yeah, Friday the 13th with Jason Voorhees, where the chick like put on the dress of Jason's mom to like make him pause and not kill people, and then they just threw him in the lake or some shit like that.
Oh man, I never saw it, but it's sad.
Oh, art imitates life. I know that shit is sad, but that's the thing, right? So, like for a lot of these guys, nobody's talking about this stuff because everybody's so busy talking about how they're an alpha male and their rented Lamborghini is there and they've slept with 1,000 women that nobody mentions. Like, hey, this is how they sucker you in because you give them all the tools it takes, and then they fall hard for you because they're emotionally in that place, and you fall hard back. But then the challenge is over. Like, well, I got what I looked for. Now let's move on. But then the guy's not ready to move on, and we do some stupid shit. And that's the part I was kind of curious about, like from your side. And I know we talked to Danny about this too, or Sophie, or whatever. And she said, let me know if this resonates with how you see it. She said it's not that they're trying to hurt guys. They just don't care. Like, hey, sorry that you felt that way, but they're just doing their own thing. And if it hurts, like hurting the guy never entered the equation. And maybe not even from you, but you've got friends. Like, does that
Yeah.
experience resonate with you as well?
It's not that you don't care. It's just like, I guess you get bored or
Oh, so it's just like it's like a shelf life. It happened and it's over. It had a finite start. It's like a movie. You got 90 minutes and then you're off to the next one. Or or
Maybe, yeah, or just like it's like a. I
feeling?
mean, I guess I also had, there were other things going on like inside that, you know. But yeah, yeah, sometimes, yeah, you do get, you know, sometimes people get wanderlust, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, men do too, right?
Um, sort of. It not in the same way. Like we get wanderlust when we're not invested. Like if it's just some girl and you're having sex, you can do that. You can move on, no care. But once I've noticed, once a guy gets invested, then he has a harder. Then he can't really do it anymore. If
Like,
that makes sense.
oh,
We really are the romantic species, and that's why
hmm.
I'm sure you've had a one night. I mean, everybody's had a one night stand before, where you have a one night stand and then the guy leaves, doesn't really give a shit, and you're like, oh, that was weird, just because he was never invested to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for guys is that as soon as we invest, it's hard for us to come back. And that's why that when we're talking about the BPD experience of you're invested and now you're not invested, it just throws guys for a loop because like our brains don't work in that same way. Does any of this make sense?
Yeah, no, you're not the only person I've seen post about this.
Yeah.
Like, um, I think, yeah, yeah, I think men are very habitual. Men are romantic. Men will love. Like, women don't know this. Women don't know this because a lot of women maybe haven't been the one who's been loved.
Aw.
But a lot of guys, yeah, I know that's sad. But a lot of guys do cheat. Like my point about the
Oh.
alpha thing is that, I mean, I've been talking to the couple of guys. There's this guy I like, but like, it's not that he would go behind my back and cheat, but it's just some guys that's just part of it. Like, hey, I
Yeah.
like to have sex with women. That's how it is. Like they just lay it out there.
Yeah.
He's if and it's usually the guys who've been with like 100, like 200, 500 women who are like, this is how I do it, take it or leave it. And a lot of women will take it. They'll just be like, okay.
Well, oh, you are actually. I think that's even an iron rule of Tomasi. Like that's how
Yeah.
long that's been like a red pill thing. And the part that made me laugh about how your tweet got so much hate was that Rolo. I think his quote is, "Girls would rather share an alpha than be saddled with a loyal beta," which it kind of says the same thing. And then those same, cartoon avies will be like, "Yeah, Rolo's nailed it. These bitches ain't shit," and they're cheering him on. But then you say it, and they're like, "Look at wall Twitter. They're so fucking used up." And I was just like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
"Isn't it?"
saw all the stuff about how used up I am and how I look like, and I don't know, like, yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
that comes with the territory. Like I
yeah.
said,
I know.
there's been a few hit pieces on me. The only thing that sucks, they never really go after me. They always go after my wife, which I'm not a big fan of.
That's wow. That's low.
Yeah,
Like that.
but I mean, it's something I
Wow.
kind of expect.
Wow.
I think it's because it's easier to go after the soft targets. Like in Montreal, I noticed the same thing. Like they have a very francophone language thing. And so I would be learning how to speak French. My girl was learning to speak French. And for me, it was always like, oh, wow, he's trying French. That's so good. But for her, it was always like, yeah, fuck, spick of the French already. Quit wasting my time. And it was just, I think people get a lot more angry at people when they know there's not a threat they can get punched in the mouth, you know?
Cool.
Yeah, I
All
was like,
right.
I
Yeah.
don't know what the answer to that question is. It's just one of those
Yeah.
things. So I've just come
Yeah.
to accept it's the internet. If you don't have people
Yeah.
calling you an asshole, then you're not doing your job right. So I
Oh,
guess you're doing
cool.
your job right.
Well, I
Yeah.
know there was something else you wanted to ask me though, like
Well,
about secret societies.
oh, that's right. So do you know what that is?
I figured you meant the tweet I made about the parties.
A little bit, yeah. So I'll give you an example. It's from this guy way back in like the mystery days called Tyler Durden. I think his name now is RSD Tyler. He's like a fat redheaded pickup artist. Whatever. But he
Wait,
mentions
fat
to a lot.
redhead?
What's that?
Oh my god, that's perfect. I used to go out with a fat redhead. I think he might have had like a learning disability too, but he was
Actually,
really
you
good in
might have
bed.
been going out with one of the RSD guys from the pickup scene.
God.
Did he have a weird lisp? That's the only other
Mm-mm.
question. Okay, so you're safe. But he talks about the secret society, and the idea of that was the secret society is something that all women and like 3% of men are part of. Don't worry about the percentages. He's just making a story here, right? And they have non-judgmental attitudes towards sex. they have non-jealous attitudes towards sex, and like girls will gladly give up stuff with these kind of guys for free. Meanwhile, the guys who aren't part of that secret society, they'll make them wait for 3 months and do dinners. Essentially showing how there's like almost two worlds when it comes to sex. There's the TradCon one where, you know, a girl makes you jump through hoops. A girl always makes you have to impress her, and then you barely get any. And then there's the other world where guys are free and open with it. And like you said, the guy who's just like, yeah, this is the way I am, take it or leave it. And you take it and you're like, yeah, it's fun. And it is. And it wasn't. It's actually a good. I'll pull up the article, so I'll put it in the chat if they can see it here. But I was just curious, like, because you had that story, and that's the stuff I wanted to ask about with this. I don't know how much detail I'm allowed to give, so you mind if just taken over on the story and tell it as comfortably as you can?
Sure.
All right.
Oh, about the parties, the sexually liberated. People went nuts on that because I said that, like, you go and I wasn't talking about my own experience. I was talking about, like, what I saw in general.
Right.
But, like, you go in, like, especially if you're really young. Like, I was monogamous with a boyfriend for, like, a long time at the parties. We would only have sex with each other.
Right.
And we started doing it in, like, I think I was late 20s. He was like mid 30s. But once we broke up, I went to some alone. It was like, I mean, it didn't have the same magic. Like, these communities are still around. Like, the people, a lot of them are still around. And it's still, you know, you have like the guys still banging all the women. Like, but it's old hat at this point.
Well, I remember they used to have those in the 70s.
Yeah.
They used to call them wife swapping parties or key swapping.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, yeah, but like, I don't know. It wouldn't feel this. It wouldn't be the same now as it would have when I was younger. Like, it just wouldn't have the same, you know, mystique about it.
Well, yeah.
But
I
was
thinking, is it because like it was you being younger was kind of the appeal to it, right? It was like something new and experimental, and then as getting older, you're like, I've been there, done that, not a fan.
Yeah, it would just be me going there and having sex with like whoever's there, and then it's kind of the same people, and they have sex with each other, and then you know sometimes they get mad, they fight because this guy likes this woman better.
I thought that was the whole point of these things, is like not to have jealousy. Isn't that why Jack Murphy wrote that fucking article?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh boy, you ready for more gossip?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know who Jack Murphy is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he wrote an article. I can't remember where it was. Maybe his blog. Maybe it was for a published thing, where he was worried about being too attached to his girl, so he told her to go on a Tinder date, and he drove her to the Buck's house to get fucked, just so he could like get over the like, oh, okay, so I'm not jealous anymore. That's great. And that shit's been haunting him for like the last 10 years. By the way, your face sells that article more than the writing ever did.
He admits this?
He was proud of it. And it's weird in a fucked up way. Like, I understand. Like, he didn't want to have one-itis for his girl. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go send her to get fucked. And if I get through that, I can get through anything. But it was just like, I don't know. This seems more like a personal demon than a public one. Like, I'm glad it's out there, but Jesus.
And I know someone who had a man who had an experience like that.
Really? Like,
but it was,
like cheered her on for it.
Yeah, it was. If I was going to write an article, I would write about. This is something I would write about. But oh my god. I feel so bad. Like, this is so.
Why do you feel bad?
Sex is such dirty shit. That's why it's nasty. Well, it makes us into bad people.
It's supposed to be dirty,
it makes us into bad
messy
people.
And fun. And bad people have sex, and good people have sex. It's whatever.
Yeah. There was this
I'm not
guy.
a prude, whatever.
Yeah, I know. There was this guy I dated in college who was like, I saw him as super alpha male. Like, he was kind of bisexual. Like, everyone knew it, and he had like these crazy like electric blue eyes. And he was very tall, and he was very, very good at creating a mood. Like, he didn't have the biggest apparatus, but like he was very good because he was very good at creating a mood.
Oh.
But he also like he was bipolar 1, probably also borderline. By the way, they say women had
a factor in him being able to set the mood.
Yeah, they say that women are more likely to be borderline. I don't believe that for 1 second. But like, really? We could come back. No, we could come back to that in a bit if you want. But like, he was super alpha with me, and I like saw him, you know, I looked up to him. But apparently in his relationship, uh he had two kids with a woman.
Oh.
Yeah, like later on. And they worked at a bar, and he encouraged her to go home with this guy. It wasn't like a race cuck thing, like it was a white guy, but the guy had a much bigger dick.
Oh.
And she started to like that guy more. Oh, and they were gay too. Like the other guy would always be on top.
Oh.
He liked being a sandwich, like in the middle. Oh, this is so disgusting. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Whatever.
not disgusting. It's just like, but you're just like, okay, like you just have like a total poker face about it.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
dude,
yeah.
I've seen some shit.
Okay.
I'll
So
tell you what. I'll
anyway,
tell your embarrassing story. I'll tell mine right after this one.
So anyway, this guy would be getting railed by the big dick guy while he was inside, you know, his wife. But then she started to see the bull more,
Hmm.
and started to respect the bull more. And then the
Oh
guy,
dear.
this is sad. It activated his bipolar, and he was worried that he was going to go manic again, go to the psych ward again, that he was going to lose his kids, right? Like serious shit.
Mm-hmm.
So like he put a stop to it. I think they're monogamous now, but she picked. I think she picked him in the end, but she was thinking like, should she pick the other guy? So the cuck thing, his kink backfired on him. Like that's the moral of the story here.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah, honestly, I've heard those stories too. A little bit different though, and I'll tell my story after this one. But it's mostly guys like the girl's not happy with him, and she just kind of wants a cheat pass, so she does this open up the relationship.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Cool," not realizing that like, for girls it's much easier, and she's already got a guy lined up. And then you very rarely see the case of the guy where he actually picks up first and the girl doesn't like it. So like all those stories, and you're right, they're kind of sick and disgusting, and it's kind of like, oh, but at the same time, it kind of shows like the underlying mental problems surrounding relationships, that how far guys are willing to go not to deal with it. Like in his case, if I got the impression right, it's kind of like he has a bit of dick envy. He wishes he could be bigger, so he kind of brings that guy in as like a surrogate. But
Yeah.
because he didn't want to deal with his insecurity, he basically almost lost his kids. You know, that's how I understand it. If I get it right.
Yeah, I think he had shame about mental illness too. I think it was more than dick.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think it was this is heavy shit. Like this is why I'm a sex writer, because I mean, I have a lot of friends, including like men, like who've been
Mm-hmm.
sex workers, and they know these things, like this deep weird shit. Sex is weird. It's not always hot. It's like spiky.
Yeah.
But I've never been paid for sex. But like I know this stuff, you know, and it's just so interesting to me because people don't talk about it except in these spaces.
No, it's hugely taboo. On here,
Yeah,
I'll tell you there. My embarrassing story, the same thing.
yeah.
So that BPD chick I was talking about, her name was
Hmm.
Charlie. Turns out, and I didn't know this until afterwards because I guess I started dating the girl I'm with now, and then she tried reaching out to me again with like a throwing out that hey in the DMs kind of thing. To which I still remembered like how much of a bitch that scenario was and how fucking worthless I was at the time. So I was having none of it. So I'm just kind of like very one word answers. Hey, how's it going? Really miss you. I find out in this conversation she had 5 kids at home, which is crazy. She must have had them very young. No stretch marks or nothing, right? Very thin girl. 5 kids, and she abandoned them to date me for a while as the BPD thing. So when I say she fell hard and then she fell out hard, I mean it.
Who was
And
watching them?
the husband or the dad, I'm not sure which. I never asked. I didn't care enough, but I should have because it would have made great material for the book. But here was the thing, and then I talked to my girl about it. I'm like, and I explained like who she is and all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, does she not remember that I did not like her when last we talked? She goes, she's bored. She wants to see if she can still have you. And I was like, that was like a watershed moment for me too on this one. That like girls like intuitively kind of know this shit when
It's a
other girls
control
are doing
thing.
it. Yeah, total control thing.
No, on the BPD part, she's like, you know, and women know that men will circle around forever. Like I'll be hearing from like the same guys for like 10 years. Like, you know, how are you? Like men don't forget.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I actually have like a joke tweet on this one. So
Yeah.
funny where guys are talking about or girls are talking about like, oh, they're just male friends and whatever. And I'm like, here's something you do. Go to your Facebook and change your relationship status to it's complicated. Give it 24 hours, then check your private messages. And that's all you need to know. and see all the guys messaging you. It's just like you were saying.
They want to
Anyway,
know,
so
like, who are you
oh,
with? Like,
well, that's just it. They start prodding around to see if how complicated and available she is, and it was just one of those ways for like if your girl has a lot of male friends to kind of red pillar to who are friends and who are waiting. I like that look. You're like, yeah, been there, done that,
no,
past
I
it.
had a guy friend that was close. Like,
Yeah.
he was like he was a Marine, and I went to the Marine Corps ball with him because we were both single, like as friends.
Oh,
But we had gone on a couple dates, and I didn't think it worked for either of us, right? That there wasn't any like that we didn't have what a vibe that
friend
way.
zoned. Got it.
But he didn't invite me to his wedding.
Oh, yeah. That's a strong tell.
Yeah.
I could see you probably take. I could see you probably taking that as a bit of a slight.
Oh, I knew him for a long time too.
Hmm.
I thought he felt like he would feel like he could tell me if
Well,
he was ever uncomfortable or lusting for me, because he was such. I mean, this was a long time ago, but he was such a by the book kind of guy, and I was
oh, Marine.
such a
Yeah.
such a bad girl. Like I figured he thought I was like degenerate, and then he wouldn't want like a degenerate woman.
To be fair, and I've been 12 years in the Navy, and the Marines are a branch of the Navy. There's a lot of degenerate there. The only difference is you're degenerate, but you show up to work on time. So, not
That's a
necessarily a
big
bad thing.
gap between you guys and like the Bushwick crowd. That's I'm
Yeah,
part
fair
of
enough.
like the yeah
Actually,
yeah.
okay. Another embarrassing story. Guy I used to sail with, Matt. Hate Matt. Matt hates me. He was getting engaged. He looks like, remember the movie American Pie?
Yeah,
Remember Shitbrick?
yeah,
The guy who
kind
slept
of,
with Stifler's
yeah,
mom?
vaguely.
That's what he looked like. So he had a wife, well, fiance at the time, who's like, "You're my first. I was a virgin before I met you." And then we met
Cute.
three guys that we worked with that have also slept with her, but they didn't count. And so this is like
What?
his, yeah, yeah,
So she lied about being a virgin,
yes.
and he didn't
That's
even
not the
he
worst
couldn't
of it, though.
tell.
I don't think he wanted to. Like, he kind of
Oh,
ignored it. And this is why I say this. It's actually in the book as well. During his stag, we were like, you know what? He's a shipmate. He has no friends. Let's take him out. Let's get him drunk. Have him enjoy his last night before he gets married, or like a week later, something like that. My buddy and I take him out, get him drunk. We had to throw him in a cab because he was getting sloppy drunk, and the bouncer was like, yeah, get him out of here or you guys have to go. So we put him in a cab, send him home. We come back up. His fiance shows up to the bar. And long story short, because I don't want to spoil the book, you guys should be fucking buying it. Ends up at my place. We're having a bunch of drinks, a little bit of a party. She goes running into my bedroom and tells her friend, whose name was Aaron, Sarah and Aaron. I can actually remember this long ago. She's like, we should just stay here tonight. The room is spinning. And then luckily the friend put up like her like a bitch shield. She's like, nope, got to get you out of here. So they dragged him out, and I'm like, ooh, that would have been awkward. Next morning, my roommate wakes up. He's like, who was that trailer park bitch you brought home last night? And I mentioned who she was, and it's like, that's Matt's fiance. He's like, oh yeah, I'd have fucked her too, man. I hate that guy. And I'm like, I didn't fuck her. But my buddy, who I was partying with, went to work the next day earlier than me because he had a duty watch. Spread the rumor that I had slept with her during the stag. And of course, a bunch of sailors, they're only going to believe that story, right? If I say, no, I didn't, everybody's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to say. I get it.
yeah.
It got so bad that our supervisor, our watch supervisors, our petty officers were making fun of him. Hey, so what's it like knowing that Ryan banged your wife? And he just tuned all of it out. And here's the worst part. That day at work, he shows up at the end of the day with his family and her family. And he's like, hey, I hear Sarah left her jacket at your place. Do you mind if I come over and pick it up? And I'm like, oh shit, here it goes. He's going to give me an ass whooping in my own house. But I'm like, whatever. I had it coming. He thanks me for showing her a good time, takes the coat, leaves. I've hated him ever since because I'm like, dude, not even a question? Not like, hey, do I need to worry? Not a punch in the face? Nothing? And then it turns out they had been doing wife swapping for years because from the other ship, some other coworkers of mine, they're
Oh,
like, yeah, he used to come over to our place and we do the couple swapping thing. Except he was such a wiener that they brought the wife in the bed with them, Candace and another Aaron, Candace and Aaron and him, and then he had to stay outside and take photos. And he used to come to work bragging about how he watched like a couple rail his wife and take photos of it. And it was like the weirdest thing because he was acting like he was the degenerate. So when you say like, yeah, he's Marine, he's by the slow down on that one. We
he
got some
didn't
degenerate types.
he didn't even have sex with the other guy's wives.
Nope.
So he was just a cook. Like he didn't even like.
Well, he got to take pictures, so he was more of a cinematographer. So yeah, it's funny. This is why when you're like, nobody talks about this stuff, I'm like, of course nobody does, but everybody has these stories. Like you have a bunch, and you probably got more than the average person. I probably got more than the average person, but everybody has at least one. We're just smart enough not to like brag about it on a blog when it happens to
Yeah.
us.
I mean, I'm
At
a
least
little worried about this guy's dignity, but
Jax or the Matt guy.
Matt.
Whatever, Matt. I got that day he never punched me. I've just stopped caring. Fuck him. Having
So
said that,
you
he made
would
a full
respect him
chapter in the
more
book.
if he punched you.
Of course he would. Like, dude, I don't know how jealous. Like you're saying with guys, like you kind of accept. Okay, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Guy's gonna be a dog. Whatever. As a guy, though, if you got a girl who's pulling that shit, it taps into that caveman DNA. And so there's part of it, like, as a guy, I kind of expect some of that. And when I don't get that, I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know? Like, I don't mind. Sometimes if you don't if you don't believe in something enough to get an ass whooping, then you don't believe in it enough. And that's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, don't be embarrassed. Everybody has these fucking stories, man.
Yeah, that makes me
Insert
feel.
awkward silence where we process.
No, that makes me feel better because I don't know. I mean, I've gotten a hard time, and people have given me a hard time. Not
Well,
just on the internet, like in real life. So
oh, of course, everybody will do that. I mean, I got lucky as a guy. We tend not to get it as much because and the more of these stories we have, the more studdish we are. Even though, like you're showing, a lot of these guys, even though they're getting all the sex and they're having the wild swinger parties, they're basically fucked mentally. Like your Chad guy you were talking about, right? You put him on
oh
the internet, give him a Lamborghini, he'll have 100,000 followers and a fucking e-course on how to pick up chicks. Meanwhile, you did not describe like a hero's story there at all. You know?
no, no, it turns out to be sad. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I wonder how many people are able to make relationships work, like monogamous marriages. Like what percentage of people would you say?
I don't think it's sorry. My girl was offering me some cream cheese and crackers, and I'm just like, oh, sweet, yeah. I
Nice.
don't think it's a lot. Like I've been very lucky, and most of my friends have been able to. I think we're all about somewhere between like 10 to 15 years for our marriages. I've only known one like quiet desperation marriage from one of my friends and one divorced guy. So I've been very lucky. Although the divorced guy was, I don't know. He even met a Polish girl. You know how the big thing about like the Eastern European girls are the most loyal ones ever. Yeah, he had the most European Polish girl ever, and she fucking dumped him. Almost tried to fuck his best friend and roommate during the divorce just to get him pissed off. Yeah, no matter where you go, man, women are women.
It's pretty vicious. Like the friends should be a no go
Mm-hmm.
because
I'd
that
agree.
humiliates them.
Well, that's the point. I think that's the point is
That's the
that they
point.
want. Well, she's like, if you're getting divorced, you're still angry, and the idea of when you're angry is you want the other person to hurt. So I can see that's why a girl would do that. Having said that, though, her most embarrassing thing was he had. This is right before the end. They had a 6 month course he had to do in Halifax. We lived in Victoria at the time. 6 month course in Halifax. He came home. He had like 4 days, and then he had to go sailing for another 3 months. So basically 9 months without his wife. And he was like begging her for sex for those couple days where they were home because they're married and they should. Finally, on the ride to the airport where he had to go to his ship, whatever there, she had sex with him in the car and just kept repeating like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" And it was like at that point where he kind of checked out of the marriage because like I will tell you right now, from a safety perspective, do not, under any circumstances, ever ask a guy, "Are you done yet?" And you can take this as my like big safety speech. Don't worry about carrying a gun. Don't worry about self-defense. Just never say, "Are you done yet?" in the middle of sex. Please do this, and you will live a long and healthy life. I beg of you. Yeah, he ended up sleeping with a really fat coworker, and then told her so that way she would give him permission to divorce because he wanted to, but she said no. And then he actually didn't go through with the divorce because she forbade it. So like that's the kind of relationship they had. I love, man, the look on your face when I'm telling some of these stories. It's worth the
Nah,
price of
it's just
admission.
people don't have a lot of dignity. They don't have a
Oh,
lot of self respect, I guess.
well,
Maybe it's.
that's why I wanted to ask you here because I'm you don't see a lot of female perspective on here, and I can see why. Because, like you said, most of the girls are fucking trash. Most of the people that hated on you were the kind of people that would love to talk about this space, but we don't generally get the wallflower types. Where
No.
like you sit here, you read, you don't engage a lot, but you got your own stories, and it kind of jives with it. But it's such a completely different perspective. It gives like some greater insight, and that's why I was appreciating you taking the time to come and chat with me. And thank you, by the way. I don't know if the
Sure.
chat's been giving you like F's in the chat for congratulations, but yeah, I
They
appreciate.
have?
I don't know. They've been rather
Oh,
nice and kind and like interested in this, so I think that's for this space. That's a pretty big compliment.
huh.
No,
I'll
no
check it
shitty
out.
shit.
Cool.
Ooh, what's this one? Here's John, by the way. How many nice guys has she turned down for Chad? Oh, for fuck's sakes, John.
uh,
I'm gonna guess. Oh, probably. There's always some.
yeah, of course there's some. I mean, come on, like
But isn't that
Chad.
the point though? It's like if a, like you said, when you said I'm not feeling it, or there was no magic or no chemistry, like that's kind of a prerequisite. And if you're not getting that, all the rest of the shit doesn't really matter. That's my impression anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
good. Like I think a lot of guys would do well to understand that. Just hearing these stories about how degenerate people can get, and it's like under the radar, everybody's doing it. Well, I mean, not everybody, just the secret society is doing it. But you could be a part of it. And being a well-adjusted person who doesn't have like bipolar, doesn't have like dick envy or any of that other nonsense, or like codependent for your wife or abandoning, like if you can avoid all that shit by being a mentally healthy individual, I think the secret society is a pretty goddamn good place. I had a lot of fun during my tenure. You sound like you haven't had a huge amount of complaints, except for that Marine party and the wedding. But I mean, whatever. Yeah, I guess I could. I guess we're about an hour and a half right now. I was going to end it pretty soon here. We're going to plug some of your stuff. I'm just curious if you had to give somebody who's never heard of you before, never heard of me, came down to this thing, like a synopsis of advice of like how to take all this stuff and then leave it as a better person. What would you say?
Um,
Putting you on the spot again here. This is a big one. This is heavy. Use all that writing knowledge you got.
a guy just really has to. Okay, he has to be confident and hold frame, and not be desperate. Don't be desperate. Men and women, basically, like, keep it in, like restraint, self control. You
Hmm.
know, like a woman should let the man chase. That's important, like my mom said. And a guy, just don't show all your cards in the beginning.
Oh,
You
I can
know,
vouch for that one. I can vouch for that
yeah,
one.
yeah. I don't have anything groundbreaking, but I do. I'm good. Yeah, I'm gonna go dance. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, that'll be awesome. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Do they still
yeah.
do the thing there where they have like the glow stick necklaces and all that stuff, or
Oh,
is that
I'm
like a
sure.
'90s fallback?
I'm sure, but they have like bracelets, like candy, like people will give
Uh,
you.
what about pacifiers? That was a big thing I remember in the late
That
'90s. Do
was.
they still do pacifiers?
I don't think so. No.
Well, it wasn't just because it was cute. They actually did it because I can't remember if it was ecstasy or MDMA or something, but it was one of the drugs they found out one of the problems where people were grinding their teeth a lot. And so
Huh.
the solution is that people started bringing pacifiers to these things to keep from grinding their teeth.
Oh,
So that's what I'm wondering. It must be a drug thing. I don't know which drug, but I don't know which ones are popular now. Are people doing like fentanyl in raves? I don't fucking know. Is it
ketamine.
just back to classics? Like we're nostalgic. We only do coke. I don't know.
Oh. I mean, my friend has a ketamine prescription.
Oh, here, what's ketamine? I didn't know what ketamine was because I don't follow Joe Rogan a lot until recently when that ivermectin thing was becoming a
Mm,
thing for like for COVID, and now people are
yeah.
saying like right wingers do ivermectin, left wingers do ketamine, and they're both made for horses or something.
Yeah, I think it's like a horse tranquilizer, but they're using it for depression now. They're giving like
Really?
infusions. Yeah, a lot of chicks. I know like two women who get ketamine infusions. It's supposed to treat like trauma or whatever. It
Like
does,
medically
like when I'm
prescribed.
taking it. Yeah, medically prescribed.
That's
Still
crazy.
a little, I think it's still a little under, under the radar.
Well, I'm getting a feeling it kind of
Yeah.
sounds like the ivermectin thing. Here's the thing, though. I've been on a ranch my childhood in a small town in BC. We had about a dozen horses. Never once have I ever heard of ketamine. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe our ranch was a piece of shit because we didn't even know this basic stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that.
it's one of those things. Either way, um, so since we got you here, and a lot of people have no idea, I'm still seeing people like, "Who is this?" And you guys are learning a lot. Tell them if they're curious about the stuff you've said, how to find more about you. I've put a link already to your article that you did with the Plowboy thing from the American Conservative. So
Yeah.
you can follow her writing there. Where else can they find you?
That's the only thing I've written and published in a long time, actually. But I do plan on doing more. I could use my Twitter to promote. I have an author page on there, so you can see like other stuff I've written a long time ago.
All right. So
And
this one
I
here,
really enjoy Twitter.
I bet you do. Who doesn't love that space?
Yeah, just because it's like I like telling stories on
I can imagine.
there.
Plus,
Yeah,
it's always good when you get that kind of engagement for some of your more controversial stories, right?
yeah,
Okay. So there you
yeah.
guys go. There's her Twitter handle. There's her article on the Proud Boys. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky. If you do ever write like a series of short stories on this kind of stuff, to be open with that, I would definitely be curious in reading it and plugging it. Like I said,
Nice, nice. Thank you.
oh, dude, like I said, I'm really getting into this author thing, and I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm surprised more people don't do it. So I want to encourage as many people as possible, especially people who don't tell stupid stories, because I hate stupid stories. It's hard to find good books.
Yeah, it
All right.
is. All right.
I guess I'll end this one off now.